Hello, this is Cowenleetin, and today I'll be bringing you a review of these Paris trucks that are right behind my head. Okay, the way I'm going to do this video is I am going to talk about the trucks in general, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to just put some annotations up, and that will link you to other parts of the video in which I talk about each truck individually. Okay, let's start. Paris trucks come in 3 different sizes, 150, 180, and 195 for the monster ones. The trucks are just generally more durable than most other trucks I've ridden. The reason for that is because they're made of virgin grade aluminum, and I don't know what that means, but it's pretty cool, and it sounds awesome. And another thing is that instead of being casted regularly, like other trucks, and the way other trucks do it is that all they do is pour the aluminum into the mold and just let it sit and then harden. And with the way these people do it is they when they pour the aluminum into the mold, they spin the truck around, and what that does is forces the bubbles out of the truck, and that makes it more durable just because there's less bubbles, and that means there's less weak points in your truck, which means they could break. So these are more durable, just denser, a little bit heavier. Another thing, the way they ride ride different than other trucks I've ridden, just mainly because the bushing seat is so sunk in. You can probably see it better on this 195. See, the bushing seat is really far into the hanger, and what that does is makes the truck really reboundy. And because when you're turning, it squishes the bushing a lot more, and then when you let go of the pressure, the trucks swing back to neutral, and so that makes it gives you a feeling of the trucks carving for you. It's pretty funky at first, like I almost fell off a couple times, but it's really nice once you get used to it. And some problems people have. Some people say that the axles bend, and I've never had a problem with that. Mainly, it's due them riding DH, I think, or just riding speed boards, or if they're like too heavy. And I'm not calling them fat, but like a lot of people have trouble because they're full-grown men and they're riding like cruising carving, which means or speed on Paris trucks. Which one reason I could think would bend the axles because they're constantly on their board, which means they're always putting weight on the trucks. And the reason why mine haven't bent yet, and I've ridden these for a year now, mine haven't bent, I don't think, because I ride freestyle, which means I'm not on my board nearly as much as they are. Because I'm off the board, like grabbing it, doing shove-its and big spins and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I land pretty hard a lot. Like, I've broken these heads off these bolts before, and yet I've not bent these axles yet. So I've never had a problem with that. You might if you're a little bit on the heavier side and you're just standing on your board. But other than that, you probably won't have a problem. And that's basically it for the general trucks. Now let's get started with the individualness. And first things first, 150. The 150 is just the smallest size you can get for longboard trucks usually. And what they mean by 150 is the hanger itself, here to here, is 150 millimeters wide. And the way you would use this, you would use I used this truck on this board. So the GNS Fiberflex, the one I demolished. And you would use these because they're turning ready. You can turn tighter on these, just easier. Like the turning's easier. It's more responsive, and because since the trucks are not as wide, you get better leverage over the wheels. But the problem with these is if you're riding a wide board, you might get bite on the wheel bite, which is when your wheel hits your board and it stops and throws you off, and that's not fun. And so if you have a wider board, then you should probably go with 180s, and I'll get to those later. Another thing you don't want to do with these trucks is you don't want to use them for speed. Since the trucks are so not wide, that mean they're not very stable, which is not good for downhill, obviously. So that's basically it for the 150. Now we're moving on to these 180s, which are the ones I've ridden the most. 180s are the basic size for longboard trucks. Since they're wider, they're considerably wider than the 150s. That means they're a lot more stable. And so you can keep these things pretty loose and they'll still probably be more stable than the 150s. And since they are a little bit shorter than this 195, can't really tell from this angle how much shorter that is. But yeah, since they are shorter, that means they have a tighter turning rate. They can, not tighter, but they can turn easier than the 195, which is another thing that's very important for longboarding. Yeah, these trucks are just mainly just a general good sized truck. You can use them for like sliding, any type of riding really, except for DH. You can ride these trucks with. You don't want to use them for a board that's too short, because then if you give a board that's not wide enough, you can get bite on the side of the board, which is not fun, since the wheels are moving in a farther pattern. But I rode these on my pt.1, and another thing you might notice is that I've gripped the base plate, and the reason why I did that is because since I rode on a drop-through mounted board, which means the truck's just about on top of the board, and since I'm a freestyle rider, which means I rely on the grip on my board a lot more than others. I don't want my foot sliding around on the nose of the board. That's not very good for big spins and one-footed shove-its and the one-footed under shove-it. It's just a lot easier to have if you grip the base plate, and I recommend you do it if you're riding a dervish or a pt.1. It doesn't really matter if you're riding a 9 to 5 or something like that. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention about the trucks in general, they have a 50-degree angle base plate. I hope people don't miss that. Alright. Oh, and the colors they come in. These ones come in all the colors. They come in Adam Colton, this purple, that red. They come in blue. They come in a reverse of this, which is the purple base plate, and a raw hanger. And they come in straight raw, straight black, and this kind of thing.